We Are One Body Audio Theater presents The Barking Cat by Joe Potts.
No, no, no. I'm so close, Zorro. What am I missing? What can't I see? If I can just crack these calculations, I can find a way to close the breach. I have to be careful, though. Any mistake could make the situation even worse.
Paul? Paul? Oh, hey, Zorro. How you doing, boy? You okay? I know an office isn't the most comfortable place for a cat, especially one as cluttered as this one. Paul, you got to get your cat out of here. Paul!
What is it, Harold?
You really should take Zorro home.
I can't leave him home. There's no one there to feed him.
Jeez, Paul. You look awful.
My looks are irrelevant. I must solve this problem.
I wanted to remind you that the meeting starts in 10 minutes.
Meeting? What meeting?
Our meeting with Director Lee. I knew you wouldn't remember.
Now? I'm rather involved with something.
Paul, listen. As your friend, I'm asking you to come to this meeting and take it seriously. You know, Lee's been keeping an eye on you since you've been, well, he's really concerned about your behavior. And if you can't appease him, you may end up on the outside looking in.
Yes. I'll be there shortly.
And Paul, after the meeting, please go home. Get some rest. You've been in this office for 4 straight days. Even the night janitors are worried about you.
I'm fine, Harold. I just need more time.
More time for what?
Harold, to close the breach.
Please don't bring any of that up in the meeting. Lee hopes that your obsession about this breach is just a fit of exhaustion that'll pass.
But it's the truth. If I don't figure out how to close that breach and...
Paul, I'm asking you as a friend. Please, keep it to yourself. I'll see you at the meeting.
Oh, Zorro. What am I going to do? Reality keeps finding new ways to change itself every day. Yesterday, robins vanished. Today, bananas are blue. And what about my dear wife? I know I had a wife, and now she just doesn't exist. What happened to her? The changes seem to be getting bigger and bigger, and if the world changes so much that the collider no longer exists, there might be no way to get reality back to normal. The collider caused this problem, and it's also the only way to set things straight. I'm certain of it, Zorro, even if my colleagues are too blind to see the truth.
Well, Harold, where's Paul?
I'm sorry, Director Lee. I reminded him that we had the meeting on my way here. I'm sure he'll be along shortly. You know Paul.
Yes, he's always been a bit eccentric.
Eccentric? The last few reports indicate he's been much more than eccentric.
Well, he's been under some stress lately. As you know, it's a very intense project. I'm sure he'll be... Oh, Paul, I'm so glad you came.
Ah, Dr. Newton, please do could join us. Dr. Newton, this is Cindy Dyson.
Yeah. So what is the purpose of this meeting?
For the...
Always so many meetings. Well, there's so much important work to be done.
Yes, well, Dr. Newton, Paul, You know how we all feel about you. You're a preeminent physicist in your field, and we're more than fortunate to have you on the Ultra Hadron Collider project. Beyond that, we've all formed bonds over the last 5 years. I think I can say without reservation that we are more than colleagues. We're friends.
Yeah, and I know what's coming next. Yet your irrational behavior over the past month cannot be ignored.
Oh, I wasn't going to put it that way.
No, you're too much of a diplomat, but listen to me and listen carefully, because every word I'm about to say is the truth. There was an accident with the collider last month. The particle stream ran out of control and formed an infinitesimally small breach. That hole formed between our universe and presumably, an alternate universe. But it allowed leakage, tiny though it was. And that leakage is causing changes every day. The changes started on the quantum level, but they are getting bigger and bigger.
Paul, I find it disturbing, concerning, that as a scientist, you continue to insist on these conjectures despite the lack of any empirical evidence.
Evidence? Am I the only real scientist here? You still maintain that you've noticed nothing? Everything seems the same to you as it always has?
Are you still claiming that you've seen changes that you can't account for? I know you're under some stress, so it would be understandable if you...
No, look, Charles, I was next to the collider when the accident happened. Maybe I was affected in some way. Maybe that's why I can see the changes. But I'm telling you, I'm not crazy.
Oh, Paul, please. No one's saying you're crazy.
But something has affected you, and I'm afraid that in spite of your prestige and talent, we will have to do something if you don't recuperate from whatever malady is afflicting you.
Malady?
There was no accident. The collider operating records prove that, nor are there any changes or whatever you want to call them to our world. I mean, really, Paul, wouldn't someone else notice all this talk about yellow bananas and robber birds?
Robins.
Don't you think there's a simpler explanation?
So, let me put this to you another way. Tell me, learned colleagues, what do you see in the horizon on such a clear night as this?
The moon's rising, of course.
The moons, yes, exactly. And how many moons?
2. What else would I see?
And you, Miss Dyson, what do you see?
The twins, the Selene sisters, the same 2 moons we've seen in the sky since time immemorial. What's your point?
And you, my friend, what do you see?
I see 2 moons. Everybody sees 2 moons, Paul.
Do you mean to tell me that none of you, some of the finest minds in the world, none of you remember a time when Earth had only 1 moon? Because up until a week ago, from time immemorial, as you say, we had only 1 moon. Do you hear me? 1 moon. It's always been 1 moon. Reality has changed, and it's still changing. Something bizarre is happening, and I'm the only one who sees it.
Paul, this fantasy of yours has been a diverting thought experiment at best and a danger to the project at worst. If you don't shape up, there are going to be consequences. What's happened to you, Paul? This isn't normal.
Normal? Don't talk to me about normal.
Paul, please, just sit down.
At any rate, your mental stability isn't the sole reason for this meeting. Miss Dyson here is from the NSF, She's here to talk to us about our funding for the Collider project.
The funding?
Thank you, Director Lee. Dr. Newton, when this organization first applied for a grant for the Ultra Hadron Collider, it was under the belief that the project was being led by the most accomplished and competent physicist alive today.
I don't have time for this.
Please,
Paul.
Dr. Newton. Please, Dr. Newton. Last week's report indicated that you, the project leader, seem to be, in the words of the report, becoming mentally unstable. I came to see for myself. We can't give funding to people who aren't responsibly handling their projects.
I'm the only one who is responsibly handling this project because I'm the only one who sees what needs to be done.
We know the project is important to you, but something has to change. I need you to get a hold of yourself. Unless you start getting sleep and maybe seeing a psychiatrist, we're going to have to remove you from the project and put Dr. Mikulski in charge.
It's not about who's in charge. It's about fixing the breach.
Tell me again, Mr. Newton.
Dr. Newton.
Yes. Please explain to me again why you think the world has changed or is changing.
Because I can see it. I can see that the world has changed. Anything and anything can and will happen if I don't close the breach. I must restore the particle stream to the exact condition it was in before the accident with the collider. That's what I'm working on now. If I don't close the breach, I can't imagine all of the possible consequences. That tear in the universe is changing our world as we know it, with even more disastrous and irreversible alterations yet to come.
Such as what?
What if people keep disappearing? People like my wife, or you, Harold, or you, Director Lee. That breach is not too picky about who or what it eliminates.
Well, there's a few things I wouldn't mind seeing eliminated, like this absolute nonsense of yours.
You have to take this seriously. The breach is not only removing things, it's adding things too. Like the second moon, who knows what else might appear. Tomorrow there could be a meteor hurtling toward the Earth. Next week, a new ice age.
Dr. Newton, this project has obviously placed you under extreme stress, and you are manifesting that anxiety through delusions and deranged visions.
Paul, please. Just let them get you the help you need.
For the love of all the science you claim to understand, why can't you believe that things might be different than they first appeared to you? All the great minds in history have earned their place by having the intelligence, the humility to believe that maybe they don't know everything, that maybe they needed to keep an open mind.
There are limits to such an opened mind, Paul. Like when that mind defies common sense and affects the project's morale and funding.
Stop talking about the funding.
What on earth is that?
Oh, that must be Zorro clawing at the door.
Dr. Newton, this is most unprofessional. Having your cat in the Collider facility is not something we would normally allow. We were trying to be accommodating of your needs, but you've taken this too far.
There you go again, talking about normal. I'm starting to think you never understood the meaning of the word.
Dr. Newton, why is your cat here?
He's been staying with me in the lab so that I can feed and take care of him while I work.
I think I've seen enough.
All right. Did you hear that?
What?
My cat, Zorro.
What about him?
He just barked.
Yeah? So what?
He just barked.
I understand your cat just barked, Dr. Newton. What is the point?
Are you joking? Charles, certainly you heard my cat bark.
Yes, I did, Paul. What of it?
You can't be serious.
Of course I'm serious. Why is this upsetting you so much?
Harold, surely you see what's going on here. You see what's wrong, don't you?
I'm sorry, Paul. I don't understand.
You can't see what's wrong with my cat? None of you can tell what's different?
Did cats used to have only 3 legs or something?
No, Harold. Cats don't bark. Cats never barked. They meowed. You just heard him in my office. You pet him and he meowed the way other cats do. The way all cats do. Heaven help us, cats meow.
This nonsense has gone far enough.
Agreed. Dr. Newton, this is your final warning. If you have no intention of straightening yourself out, you will be removed from this project.
And if you keep trying to convince everyone here of your mad notions, you will be forced to revoke your clearance to this laboratory.
It's right here in front of your eyes, right here under your noses. And you still can't see it. You can't look past your established beliefs and consider the possibility that there could be alternatives, that there might be some different truths.
Excuse me. Could you two give me a minute alone with him?
If you think it'll help.
Please talk some sense into him, Harold.
I'll try. Paul.
Harold, you were there with me. You were there when the accident happened. Not as close, maybe, but maybe close enough that you might notice something.
Paul, listen. We've been friends since college. Whatever is happening, I'm behind you. I'm not going to abandon you.
Thank you, Harold. Do you remember the old problem about the tree falling in the woods? And if there's nobody there to hear it, does it make a sound?
Paul, just relax.
No, you have to listen to me. Who determines the reality of the tree falling? Who determines whether Schrodinger's cat is alive or dead? Or if it barks? Who determines how many moons there are?
As scientists, we hang our hats on an objective reality. We can test whether a tree falls or a cat lives or dies or barks. Of course, and don't take this the wrong way, Paul, we each perceive reality in our own mind.
But Harold, I'm as positive about this as I've been about anything. Believe me, as sure as I'm standing in front of you right now, there once were little red-breasted birds called robins. They were the harbingers of spring, and everybody knew about robins, and cats didn't bark. And surely you remember that until 2 weeks ago, I had a wife.
Paul, you never had a...
Yes, I did. You knew her, Harold, even back in our college days. Her name is Diana, and she loves animals. And she's warm and witty and funny. And she always carries a book of poetry in her purse. Where did she go?
Paul, you need to calm down. You've been under such strain lately. I don't know what...
I'm telling you, Harold, our world is changing, and it gets worse every day. And the only possible solution is to recreate the conditions of the collider and close the breach.
Paul.
We must close the breach. It's our only chance. Harold, before you and I don't exist, before the collider doesn't exist, we must bring back my wife. Bring back my wife, my Diana. We must bring back the robins. Bring back the one moon. And stop cats from barking. Stop cats from barking. Stop cats from barking.
Dr. Mikulski, what are you doing in the boardroom?
I don't know, sir.
Well, no matter. I was going to call you in here anyway. This is Miss Cindy Dyson from the NSF. She's here to discuss our funding for the project.
Oh, yes, of course. Nice to meet you, Ms. Dyson. I'm Dr. Harold Mikulski.
What on earth is
Nice,
that?
Doctor. Oh, it's a little cat.
Hey there, kitty. How'd you get in here?
Looks like he's pawing on the ground, like he's looking for something, like he's lost something.
Yes, as if something's missing. Come to think of it, I feel like there's something I'm missing.
I don't care what it's doing here. Dr. Mikulski, please remove that cat from these facilities.
Little fella does seem familiar, though.
Now what's it doing?
It's going toward the window.
Oh, how cute. He's howling at the moons. And look how bright they are tonight.
Yes, it's not every evening that all 3 moons are this dazzling.
That was The Barking Cat, written by Joe Potts. Directed by John Wojtechko. Produced by Thomas Marinchak. The cast in order of appearance was Paul Fox as Paul Newton, Rick Manasa as Harold Mikulski, Asher Yautz as Charles Lee, Shana Buck as Cindy Dyson. Foley and sound design by Joseph Adams and Jacob Gorsich. Original music composed by John Wojtechko and mastered by Joseph Adams. Used by We Are One Body Audio Theater with the permission of the licensor, granted under a copyrighted license agreement. A production of We Are One Body Audio Theater.